basic structure that gets under attack during the Parkinson's disease is the basal ganglia. So to understand the Parkinson's disease, let us quickly review the basal ganglia, the anatomy of basal ganglia. So this is a basic structure and it consists of two parts. You have got the putamen, and above it you have got your caudate nucleus. Now, histologically speaking, both of these components, the putamen and the caudate nucleus, they have got striations, and as a result of which, both of them they are called as corpus striatum. Now, if you go interior to it, towards the medial side, you'll find another structure which is referred to as globus pallidus. Globus pallidus is divided into two parts, and that is globus pallidus externa and globus pallidus interna. Much interior to the globus pallidus interna, you have got the fundamental structure that is your thalamus. Right. Thalamus has got three nuclei, that is your ventro-anterior, ventro-lateral, and ventro-posterior. The circuits that come from the globus pallidus interna reach the ventro-anterior and the ventro-lateral nuclei of the thalamus. Just beneath the thalamus, you have got another structure which is called your subthalamus. It's not actually like a box, but it's beneath the thalamus, and hence it is called the subthalamus. But this is not where your story is. Your story lies in the most important structure which I'm going to draw, and that is called your substantia nigra, that lies in the midbrain. Now, in the substantia nigra is a part which is called as pars compacta. And from the pars compacta arises dopaminergic neurons. And these neurons go towards the corpus striatum or the striatum, and hence it forms the nigrostriatal pathway. So first let us deal with the direct pathway that is involved with movements. Now what happens in the direct pathway is that you get a dopaminergic neuron that travels towards the corpus striatum. Let us name this as dopamine neuron number 1, and it releases dopamine. Right. So this is dopamine neuron 1. Now this dopamine is released on the GABAergic neuron that is present or plentiful in the corpus striatum. So let us draw a GABAergic neuron that is traveling towards the globus pallidus interna. Right. Now this GABAergic neuron that you are seeing, it has got a receptor, and that receptor is your D1 receptor. D1 receptors, as you already know, they are G protein coupled receptors, and the G protein over here is GQ protein. And as you already know, these are stimulatory proteins. Or it's actually not GQ, it is GS. Right. Now, when this dopamine goes and sits on the D1 receptor, since it is stimulatory, it will cause the release of GABA. Or let me just write it as G. Now this G, or the GABA that is being released from the GABAergic neuron number 1, acts on another GABAergic neuron that travels from the globus pallidus internus towards the ventroanterior and the ventrolateral part of the thalamus. So let me draw again a GABAergic neuron. Right. Now the point to notice over here is that this GABA, this GABA that is being released, it is being released on an inhibitory neuron, right? This neurotransmitter GABA that is released is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. That means whatever it does down the line, it will cause inactivation of that particular neuron or cell or whatever. So this GABAergic neuron number 2 won't be able to discharge any of the neurotransmitters from itself. As a result, there will be no neurotransmitter release. By the by, what happens? A glutamate neuron that goes from the thalamus towards the cortex, which is forming the thalamocortical pathway, gets activated because it is not inactivated by the GABA, because GABA is not being released from the second GABAergic neuron. This goes and activates the premotor area and the supplementary motor area, which in turn will activate the primary motor area that through the corticospinal tracts will cause the movements to occur through the lower motor neuron activating the skeletal muscles. So this is what happens in a direct pathway. Now when you talk about indirect pathway is a little bit complex, but it's quite simple to understand. What happens in that is, there is another neuron from the nigrostriatal pathway that comes and ends up in the corpus striatum. Right. Let, let us name this as number 2, dopamine neuron number 2. And since it is a dopamine neuron, it will release dopamine. Now this dopamine is acting on another GABAergic neuron, that is present in the corpus striatum, but it is extending only towards the globus pallidus externa. Right. Now on this particular GABAergic neuron, let's say it's number 1 now, is a D2 receptor. D2 receptor is GI coupled. It is G inhibitory. That means when dopamine goes and acts and sits on this, through the GI coupling, no GABA will be released from this particular GABAergic neuron. Right. Next, what happens? We have got another GABAergic neuron that travels from the globus pallidus externus towards the subthalamus. Now, since GABAergic neuron number 1 was not able to inhibit the GABAergic neuron number 2, it will release GABA over here. Right. Now, from the subthalamus, relay impulses go towards the globus pallidus internus. And these are your glutamate neurons. So from here, right. Now this GABA, being an inhibitory neurotransmitter, will inhibit this particular glutamate neuron. Now, if it is inhibited, will it be able to release glutamate over here? No, it won't. It won't release glutamate. And if it doesn't release glutamate, being an excitatory neurotransmitter, won't be able to excite this particular GABAergic neuron. And if this GABAergic neuron is not stimulated, that means it won't be able to release GABA over here. And if it doesn't release GABA over here, that means this particular glutamate neuron now will fire relay impulses towards the premotor area and the supplementary motor area that will give impulses towards the primary motor area, and then again the initiation of movements and the movement pathway through the corticospinal tract commences. Now, what exactly happens in Parkinson's disease? Parkinson's disease basically is a neurodegenerative disorder. What do you mean by that? It means that the nigrostriatal pathway in Parkinson's disease is getting degenerated. That means this particular neurons that we are talking are not there. They have got degenerated. So let us see what happens now. Now, if we now cause degeneration of dopamine neuron number 1, let's see what happens. So the first effect that happens is dopamine is not released at this particular step. So if it is not released, that means the GABAergic neuron is not getting activated. That means the GABA is not being released over at this step. If GABA is not being released at this step, it won't be able to inhibit this GABAergic neuron. That means plenty full of GABA will be released at this level. And if GABA is released at this level, it will inhibit the excitatory neuron. And if it inhibits the excitatory neuron, impulses cannot travel towards the supplementary motor area and the premotor area, exciting them. And if these doesn't get excited, the primary motor area doesn't get excited, and skeletal muscle movements do not occur. So that is happens when the dopamine neuron number 1 is inhibited. Now, what happens when dopamine number neuron 2 is inhibited? Let us take a look. Now, when this is degenerated, that means dopamine is not released. If dopamine is not released, that means this GABA is now going to release, this GABAergic neuron is going to release GABA. When it releases GABA, that means this GABAergic neuron will get inhibited. If it gets inhibited, that means this glutamate neuron is going to get stimulated. If it gets stimulated, it will release glutamate over here. And if it releases glutamate over here, it will cause excitation of this GABAergic neuron, releasing GABA. And if it releases GABA, the thalamocortical pathway will get inhibited. If it gets inhibited, the premotor area and the supplementary motor area will get inhibited, and they will not be able to send impulses to the primary motor area, inhibiting the corticospinal tract and inhibiting the skeletal muscle movements. So this is what happens in the case of Parkinson's disease.